What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Sunbelt Syndicate, the 3B podcast with Dominic, Seth, and Marv, as always brought to you by College Football Dogs, part of Dog TV, and sponsored by W Energy down below. If you're watching the video version with us now, SB Syndicate at checkout. That'll get you a little discount, gets us a little affiliate bump, and you can be energized for your day with some clean energy from those guys. And they have a secret coming out soon. They are going to start putting this stuff in cans. So you're going to see them alongside a Red Bull and all the other competitors on the market. So it'll be even easier. You don't have to make it yourselves if you're opposed to that. You guys make those protein shakes and stuff? You guys do that stuff?
All natural, baby.
No steroid usage over here, right?
Little TRT stuff. Never hurt anybody.
Yeah. I mean, The Rock's clean, right? I mean, you saw him on WrestleMania. That's natural. It's just pizza and cheat days and muscle, baby.
All about some cheat days.
Yeah. When you're putting on slabs of muscle and like 8% body fat in your 50s, that's totally natural.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doping going on there at all. Oh, man. We already got our first comment. Guess who it is?
Party cat.
Boom! Nailed it. We knew it. Hello, y'all. What a bad baseball week. And now my hockey team is moving to Crap Lake City.
Yeah, saw that.
Well, I'll give Artie credit, though. Did he not take Texas State to lose to his own team in Texas State to lose to Marshall? He was the one who said it. None of us was going to go with that.
I think he was very down on them and said that they could be swept by anybody at this point.
And he was right.
He was.
Marshall almost did it. I couldn't believe it. I mean, we had heard that they had good pitching, and that was pretty much put on full display. I think I've got some notes on that one.
Yeah, I think their pitcher got on Sunday got pitcher of the week. I think he threw a complete game.
Is that the same guy that we've seen already this year that got it? Let me bring him up again.
I thought he was a Saturday guy. Could be.
Was he?
Might be.
His name was Bryce Belvin.
I remember the name. Let's see.
Because that's funny. Back when we did our player of the week that we've done, one time so far.
He's won pitcher of the week in week 3, week 5, and week 8.
Wow. It is.
So he's going to be an all-star. There we go. Easy enough. Makes sense about why he's, why they're doing better, I guess, this year than they have been. Although, before this series, we were questioning the validity of both Texas State and Marshall to some extent, but the Herd have pitching staff, fellas.
Hey, that dude's a sophomore.
Wow.
Only a sophomore?
Yeah.
Wow. He may not be in college at all after this year.
I don't think he's in college next year. Not pitching like that.
No, especially in the Sun Belt. The only reason Marshall lost was they pushed their pitcher on Sunday a little too far. Interesting. Yeah, those are the things you only know when you watch the game. And obviously, Artie's one of our biggest – he is our biggest viewer. And he's obviously the Texas State fans' biggest viewer from what I can tell. So, yeah, I mean, just crazy where we thought Texas State was early on in the season to where they're sitting at currently. A little bit with App, what we saw this past weekend. I think all three of us were surprised by them being swept completely. Wouldn't have shocked me to have James Madison win that series 2-1, but it was shocking to me that anybody swept it. I did predict a sweep, but again, that was more so because App had beaten JMU in football and basketball, and I said, hey, we're going to complete the series sweep here. more for like honor and respect than the fact that I actually thought they might win 3-0. Looks real bad now, but anyway, let's put up what we're calling this episode tonight, right? So expectations versus the current standings. I didn't quite go with expectations versus reality because, to be honest with you, we'll let Seth talk about this a little bit more too, but you've got conference standings, right? And there's certain guys sitting in certain positions, but when you look at the overall standings right beside that, to me, that's not like it doesn't feel like reality, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. A couple of, the biggest thing that I keep harping on every week is, and I know I took them for a sweep last week and they only finished 2-1. but is Coastal overrated? And I think me and Marv go back and forth on this every week. And I mean, even at 22-10, predicted to finish first in the conference with only a 583 win percentage in conference. I mean, do we give Louisiana the title now, or do you think Coastal still has a shot at this thing?
Just looking at it, I mean, Louisiana's won 16 in a row. They have to be the hottest baseball team in the country right now. I can't remember if they play each other or not, but Louisiana looks to be running away with it at the moment.
All right, well, let's take Louisiana. Let's take Louisiana out of it. If Coastal does not finish in the top 3, is that a bust?
Yeah, I mean,
to me, it's a bust for them. I mean, they're fans and what they expect. Yeah, I think so. Oh, here we got some updates from some live scores from people. Yo Boy Cars, our Cajun fan. Cajuns losing 5-2 in the 5th right now. They're playing La Tech for anybody who's not watching that one. Tech pitching Friday night starter in midweek. Yeah, well, that's part of that old school rivalry there. You don't want to lose that one, no matter which side of the ball you're on. So maybe they're throwing extra into that for that reason. Artie Cat says they're overhyped for sure. Seth and Marv, unfortunately, Lafayette is the real deal.
They look like.
Yeah, they definitely are. I have seen some people question the validity of their strength of schedule so far. But
16 in a row. You can't question the validity of that.
That was my argument as well. I don't care who you're playing in college baseball. It is not easy to sweep anyone, as we've seen. I think just this past week we had the most sweeps in the Sun Belt weekend series that we've ever had this year.
It's sweeps come by.
I think there was 4 of them. We can count as we go this time around, but I think there was 4 last week, which was shocking.
Unfortunately, App was one of those.
Yes, they were. Unfortunately for us. That's James Madison. You know what's interesting, to talk about that for just a second before we break into something more. A lot of James Madison fans really pumping their chest about that one. And it shows you how much of an intense rivalry has already grown there, right? They care so much about beating App that they were kind of heralding this from the mountaintops, quite literally, over there in Harrisonburg, even though they're really in the valley, I guess. But the basic fact of the matter is you can beat your chest all you want about beating App State. And App State and us App State fans hate the fact that we got swept. However, if you think that means anything in the Sun Belt baseball landscape, you're dead wrong. App baseball has never been at the top of this conference. And, anybody sweeping them isn't the most shocking thing, unfortunately. So, what do you guys think about that?
I completely agree with you. I think this is kind of the point in the season we've been waiting to get to. I think regarding the JMU series, if it would have been a sweep the other way, I don't think we would have been surprised much either.
No.
I think going back to last week's episode, I think the top 4, and I'll include Georgia Southern in that, narrowly got Georgia Tech tonight.
5-4.
Yeah.
That one finished up already 5-4.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would separate that top 4, and then anything below that, is kind of what it is. No offense to anybody listening to this, the App State fans. Let's just be honest. I think they've kind of come back down to reality. And like we were talking about the other day, just the 3 of us, 2 out of 3 from Coastal at this point in the season, I don't think that's anything to beat our chest about, really, anymore, at least.
So far, yeah, I think I'd agree so far.
Yeah, I mean,
it could be at the end of the year. You could look back and go, "Oh, Coastal got hot and they won 14 in a row." But yeah, you're right now. I think you're right.
I mean,
it's not as exciting as it could have been.
Any team can get hot and go on a run, but I mean, you want to talk about like what surprises you. So looking at that graphic, anybody on the left-hand side gets swept or beaten a series by anybody on the right-hand side. That's surprising. But anyone in that middle row sweeps another team in that middle row, it doesn't surprise me.
No.
That's a good way to put it. That is a good way to put it.
Don't look now. Troy's streaking a little bit, 5 in a row.
Troy, yeah. That's
Do they go to Boone this weekend?
They
Yep.
do.
Is that this weekend?
Yeah, you going to the games?
I've not cut my grass yet, fellas, and it's about that time. So we'll see what I get around to this weekend.
It's cut your grass or pay $10. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And at this point in the season, I think I'd rather probably cut my grass, to be honest with you.
Oh man, Artie Cat says he's letting us know Texas State just dropped 2 tonight to Texas. That you heard that right. For those that saw the graphic I put up earlier today, they were down 8-1, I think it was, in the 8th inning. It got suspended yesterday. They completed that game today. Why, I don't know, but they completed it before they started their second game. So they've actually now lost 2 games in one day to the same team. So, yeah, that graphic is not up to date because that graphic was done earlier today before those games took place. But will be updated soon after that. He says the last 2 innings had to be finished tonight in Austin due to the weather last night, and they'll lose tonight's game as well. Oh, it's not over yet. Okay.
No, I just looked it up. It's top of the 4th. It's 0-0 right now.
Okay. So he's overreacting slightly so far.
Already knows something we all don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, hopefully that doesn't come true. I'd like to see him take one from Texas because at this point they're going to need it if they want to have any chance at getting back into this race, either out of conference or just in the regional thing, look of things, I guess I should say. All right, so question, guys. Do you want to continue with these standings and take a look at the preseason poll? You want to go to the scores from this weekend and then go back into that? I guess let's just give you the choice here.
Let's go ahead and take a look. I mean, let's go ahead and knock it out. Where are they now versus where were they predicted to be by the coaches?
Okay, so I can't put them side by side, unfortunately, but
I've got it here in front of me, Dom.
Okay, there's the standings now, and then somewhere that should have been the thing. Well, I'll keep that there for a minute while I refresh this screen, see if it'll fix it. Well, anyway, take it away, Seth, while I fix what's going on over here.
Obviously, as we talk about every single week, Coastal was our preseason favorite, which sitting at 4 right now, 4th. But like I stated earlier, with only a .583 winning percentage in conference at 7-5. So I think our 2 biggest surprises so far, I think everything else kind of is about what we thought it would be. I think we've talked about Georgia Southern quite a bit the last few weeks, and I think that's a team that, we didn't know a lot about to begin the year, and now we're sitting here saying 8-4 with Southern Miss, battling out for that second position or that second place right now. We can talk all night about Coastal if we wanted to, but Troy's 7-5 with Coastal. They're only 1 game out of that 3rd place.
Yeah.
And I think, as we've been talking about a little bit on air and off the air, I think Sunbelt ends up with 3 this year, unless there's a surprise in the tournament. I think we see Louisiana, Southern Miss, and then Georgia Southern or Coastal battling out for that 3rd position. That's my own personal opinion, at least.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's a bad one right now for where everything at. I mean, I know Coastal fans are still really worried about their pitching. I think that's where they think the biggest difference is being made on the field right now. So they think they can shore that up. We've seen people come in here and comment that the pitching is on its way, but
Troy's sitting with 23 wins right now, though.
Yeah. And Troy was a good team last year. I mean, when App beat them in the postseason tournament, that was a big deal because that one really shouldn't have gone that way. And Troy and Southern Miss are really the only 2 teams performing right where they should be. And you can argue that the Cajuns are overperforming from where they thought to be coming into the season.
Yeah. I mean, they're still in that top. They were in the top 4 preseason. But yeah, I mean, when you're sitting at when you're sitting at 11-1, 25-8 overall, I would definitely say that is overperforming for sure.
Yeah, because you could put it this way: who else? Because it's kind of a rhetorical question, but who else could lose a series by being swept and not move out of the first place position spot or any position spot?
Yeah, nobody.
You're absolutely right.
Nobody.
So they can afford to go on a. Cajun fans don't want to hear that, and they don't want to see it, but they could literally afford to lose a series by being swept, and it's only going to put them with everybody else. It's not going to drop them back at all. So.
Yeah, but anybody, Southern Miss, Georgia Southern, Coastal, Troy, any of those teams get swept, and they get reshuffled towards the bottom half of the middle.
Yep. It's crazy to think about that, right? Like that's how close all this stuff is.
How many weekends do we have left?
I think 6.
I think you're right.
Yeah, but I mean,
so it's too soon to start. It's too soon to start thinking about a Louisiana, a sweep, and maybe a Southern Miss only taking 1 out of 3. I mean, I think we still have 2 more weeks before we can start deciding. If Louisiana continues this run, obviously I think they run away with it, but a Southern Miss series, even taking Southern Miss taking 2 or 3 from Louisiana, I think tightens this thing up a little bit more.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about with Louisiana, get your wins while you can. I mean, they've got ULM in their next series, who is bottom of the conference. So
that's the one they just had this weekend.
Is it?
Yep.
Oh, you're right. Okay, sorry. I
think it picks up after this.
Yeah, they
do have Marshall though, and look what Marshall just did. I mean,
they got Marshall and Coastal.
Yeah. Tougher than some people thought a couple weeks ago. I bet. Artie Cat saying Troy's a Sun Belt tournament sleeper. I think they absolutely could be.
Absolutely. Artie, what's your opinion on Georgia Southern? We just need to get him on with us, guys.
Yeah, we do need to give Artie an invite. But Marv, you have a?
I think we just did.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, the top 4 is the top 4. The top 5, I still think Texas State's they're not performing well now, but the top 4 are going to be the top 4. Whichever order they're going to be in is what they're going to be in. I do think Louisiana, obviously, right now is kind of running away with it, but a lot of middle of the pack teams that are kind of right where the coaches thought they would be. But I was just looking at that graphic. Only 2 teams received first place votes by the coaches, and it was Coastal and Louisiana. That's it.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because that still puts Louisiana at 4. That means there's a lot of people that weren't giving them the respect.
Yeah,
even though there was a couple people that knew.
Yeah, and a lot of people didn't think that highly. I mean, you got to think with 2 first place votes and still being number 4, there are some people that had them back further than that, 6, 7, 8. So I don't know. They're playing great ball right now, 16 in a row.
Oh yeah, absolutely, no doubt about it. All right. Anything else to really cover? I mean, I think, the Panthers are preseason number 11, which seems crazy with where they were before this past series. Now they're kind of dropping towards that area. Crazy to think about, right? Like they were up there in the top 3-4 spots, and one series sweep like that has now put them, in fact, I'll just back it up here, puts them back at 5th.
Yeah.
6th. You're right. 6th.
And listen, they got a losing record. They were, 2 games above 500 going in. I think we all kind of thought that they were going to come back to reality at some point. I haven't watched a ton of their games, but I wasn't highly impressed with what I did see. But their early conference success. I mean, they came in, at 7-2. So you had to respect that, but they came back down to reality.
Yeah, I think Texas State's one of our disappointments as well. Preseason 5th, and now they're all the way down to 10th, sitting at 10th right now. So I would consider, other than that's a pretty big disappointment. But if we're looking at anything that has shaken up, I think Coastal fallen to 4th, Georgia Southern in the top 3, and Texas State sitting at 10 is probably the difference of where we started at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. Very true. And Artie Cat's agreeing. Georgia Southern's up and coming team and playing above expectations. Absolutely. Getting to the tournament would be huge for the Panthers program. That's right. It would. And we got a Georgia Southern fan, Randy Peacock, joining us saying, gotta Thanks for joining the show, Randy. Yeah, I mean, Georgia Southern is seemingly playing pretty well. You guys just said it was Tech tonight who did beat them, though, in a one-run game?
5-4. Yeah, it was a close ball game.
Respectable, though, because I think Tech beat State by like 12 runs earlier this year or something crazy, right? Like 13-1 or something. Yeah, but the Panthers, man, if they could make it somehow into the regionals, I don't see it. I think like we all kind of claimed them as being pretenders last week, or at least I know I remember did.
I believe we all did.
Okay, yeah.
They have a losing record. I'm sorry.
They have a losing record.
So they're going to have to win the conference to get in my opinion.
Yeah, that's very true. Hey, so we got CJ commenting 540 strong, which I think is Harrisonburg's area code, zip code, whatever you call that area code. Any thoughts on James Madison, right? So they come into this app series. We probably didn't think much of them. They were kind of right where probably we expected them to be. Now they've got a 3-game sweep in hand, 6-6, kind of really midpoint of the conference. We think there's anything that they can do long-term here, or do we think they kind of end up in this same spot when it comes to the end of the season?
The RPI is 23.
I don't get it. How?
they look pretty damn good this weekend.
Well, they played Arkansas 4 times. It wasn't even a 3-game series. 4 times.
Win.
They're probably getting a one
Are we
win.
Still holding on to that?
No, I'm not, but I think they're getting a lot of respect for having played a tough schedule by really only playing one team that many times.
But they got beat. It doesn't matter. I mean,
you would think.
Are we rewarding tough schedules? I don't understand it. 1 win.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd like to know how it's that high too, to be honest with you. But
if we're being blunt, they were preseason number 10. They're sitting at 8th. I don't think that's a whole lot to talk about.
No, I just thought, they do jump up and beat a team that you think would be kind of even with them, right? I mean, I didn't think, no matter who won the series, I didn't think one team would look greatly superior to the other. And I don't know if I thought that even after the series is over, that, they play again and James Madison can sweep again. That's hard for really any series, but I didn't see enough. It made me think like App never stands a chance when they play JMU in baseball, No,
the second and third game were close. The first game, I mean, good God, they hit 5 homers in the first inning. Yeah. I mean, that thing was over before we ever got to bat. We tried to chip away at it, but it just wasn't enough. The next 2 games were fairly close. I think App had a good chance to win the second game, but didn't expect them to sweep it. Can't talk crap about a team that just swept my team. I think the RPI is a little too high. But, hey, they just got a series sweep in conference. What are you going to do?
Yeah. CJ not too fond of the App fans here. Game 3 was close, but App State choked away their fans, though. Different story.
Okay, I got a question.
Yeah.
I'm not too familiar with how seeding in the NCAA baseball tournament goes, but how much does RPI weigh into this? Like, what are you going to take a team that finishes 6th in their conference, but they have an RPI of 25? Do they? I
think so. I don't know how it goes either, but logical sense would say no.
Right.
Especially, I mean, if it was the SEC, maybe. If it was the ACC, maybe. But I don't think out of my opinion, you got to be top 4 in the Sun Belt. And the lower you are in the regular season, the further you have to make it in the tournament to plead your case to make a regional.
Right.
Yeah, I would say that's a good point. Let's just say that the thing comes down to James Madison ends 5th in the conference. But like you said, we're only probably thinking 3 teams, at least at this point, that are going to the Sun Belt. You would not take JMU, even with a great RPI and a decent overall record, over a team above them in the standings who's not going to go. Say, for argument's sake, let's just say it's Georgia State somehow jumps into that 4 spot or something crazy with, a crappy record overall, but they did decent in conference play somehow. But James Madison's like 1 game behind them, but has a much better RPI than they have. Like, I don't think you're going to see some weird jump or reward for not doing better within conference play, right? Like you said, if you're in a massive media market conference like the SEC or ACC for baseball, that's when those crazy things kind of could occur, and you could really argue that. Unfortunately, with what people deem the Sun Belt, even though, like we've said, it's not, I don't really see it as a mid-major baseball conference, but whatever. We can't change a lot of people's minds on that. I think it's just like basketball, where they're going to reward the bigger conferences with more money.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but I agree.
Yeah. Artie's saying, hey, JMU, plant some trees behind your outfield for some screening and get rid of the TV audience of you, a frat row. Oh, man. Georgia Southern, strength of schedule 19 out of conference 8. JMU has 11 Q4 wins, RPI 200 or RPI too high, 100%. So, yeah. And CJ saying JMU is leading Richmond right now. Actually, he says, never mind. They just got the W, 14-4 over Richmond. I don't know much about the Richmond baseball program. I'm not going to think that's going to be a great victory as far as adding to the RPI, but you did win it. So that will help in that regard for sure. Here, as I've been pointed out recently, I was so focused on this graphic for Tuesday's scores between Prairie View A&M and the Ragin' Cajuns. As you can see, both their graphics or logos are wider than they are tall. I was worried about the spacing. You know what I forgot to go back and do? You guys see where I'm missing something here?
No.
The Cajuns are nationally ranked, fellas. And we've been yelling it since last week that they should have been ranked, and I forgot to go back and add their ranking in.
They're 19th?
No.
I saw.
They are in the D1 baseball poll. They are 19th in the NCAA D1 baseball poll.
Yeah. Wow. That makes sense to me.
So they've jumped Coastal, as you can see in this graphic. Coastal's 20th. They went down there the other night to Wake Forest 12-3. Coastal did, but the Cajuns won easily. Again, we just talked about them being on a streak, 11-2 in that one. Couple games postponed. Yeah, that's a big one. Not only do you beat an in-state school, but you beat the in-state school with a ranking of number 25 attached to their name at this point. So
yeah.
And a 4-8 in conference baseball team.
Y'all see the app win last night? How we had to
walk it off?
Yeah, well, I mean, we gave up 4 in the top of the 9th and had to get 2 back to win the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exciting, but not necessarily the exciting you want, I guess, you know.
No, not at all.
CJ saying the Spiders suck anyway. Yeah, I mean, from App's point of view, they played them in the FCS playoffs a few times, so we'll agree with you on that. Richmond does suck. Some of these games that are postponed, I think actually most, if not all of these games are actually being played tonight. And again, we talked about that Texas State doubleheader. That 9-1 victory ended up being a victory, or 9-1 score ended up being a victory for Texas already, with the second game of that one being completed as we speak here. Southern Miss gets a big victory. I know maybe some people outside of big-time baseball fans aren't familiar, but Southeastern Louisiana, dang good baseball team this year. So 5-1 victory there is nothing to overlook as far as that one goes. And, yeah, I think that covers all of Tuesday's scores. Nothing crazy. Anything really surprise you here besides that app game we talked about a little bit?
South Alabama getting a ranked win against the in-state opponent. That's good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. If you don't check out or follow JT, I'm going blank on his last name right now. He does the radio calls for South Alabama Jaguars. I don't know if he does it for all their sports. He does it for baseball for sure. He does a fantastic job, man. I don't know about most of y'all. I mean, I would assume most everybody agrees with me here. I want somebody who I can tell cares and has inflection in their voice when stuff happens and big moments occur. That guy's got it down to a science, right? Like, he's just fun to listen to. So he called the big hit that gave the Jags the lead last night, and I always like to comment and check out his posts when he puts them up, because he puts the little video of himself up after, like the day after it happens. So that's really cool. I like how they go out and post that kind of stuff up for us to see later on. Already saying SLU played tougher than score reflects. Yeah, I'd heard a lot of people thinking that it wouldn't be a shock if they went in there and somehow beat Southern Miss. It wouldn't be easy, but they have the team apparently this year that could possibly do it. Randy's letting us know strength of schedule for the Cages is 127. Their out of conference schedule is 167.
Wow.
So maybe he's making an argument there that they should not be ranked. Not sure, or he's just giving us that information. But interesting that, you know, if you've got James Madison with such high RPI and everything else, you know, would they be rewarded with a ranking if they had, I don't know.
Don't go there, please. Don't go there. Don't go that road.
I won't go there. All right, won't go there.
It's not worth our time. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Kurt Dudley for JMU is top tier. Prove me wrong. I guess I can't prove you wrong right now. I mean, I know when I was looking over the notes, and we'll get to them in a second, about some of the guys that were hot this series that really made me keep an eye on some of them going forward. But we'll take a look at that now. Let's just break into these games. So we talked about this one, getting into this one on the graphics here. App State goes up to Harrisonburg, Virginia, goes down 3-0. Game one, JMU jumps out to an 11-0 lead by the third inning. 4 home runs in the first is what we said, or was it 5? It was at least 4. Was it 5? Okay. I missed one there. App cuts it to 11-7 by the fifth. Both teams score 2 more runs toward the end. Langley, Trimble, and Mancini were on fire. That helps take that game 13-9. Game 2, freshman catcher for App State, Smiley, hits a grand slam in the second to put App up 4-0. They go 2 scoreless innings, but almost all JMU after that. Averaged 2 runs an inning from the fifth on to just help outpace them, win that one 8-5. Game 3, much more of a back-and-forth affair. 4-3 JMU head into the sixth, but JMU scores 7 runs in the next 3 innings to App's 2. Again, Langley, Trimble, and Mancini were once again 1, 2, 3 in the order, keeping the offense rolling. Add in Calabrese. They outdueled Tolley, Zamora, and St. Laurent to really help just close out this series. There's probably not much more to say about that one because it was a 3-game sweep, right, guys?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
First game dug a hole that you couldn't get out of. Second game, got the grand slam in the second and didn't really do much offensively after that. And then, they just put it away late in the game in the third. Hats off to them. That's a sweep in conference is not easy. You got 2 teams I think are 7th and 8th in the conference right now. Not much else you can say. No.
Are you saying, come on, Mountaineers?
That Austin was like 13 for 15 or something on the weekend, 13 for 17 or something. Anybody else see that?
Austin's been hitting the ball really well for several weeks now.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't break it down that specifically because I'll be honest, even as an App homer a little bit, I had to focus on the team who swept them. You know, I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
Unfortunately, they didn't have enough standout stuff. They got a little bit better as the series wore on, I feel like, but really, it's actually weird to hear that because they scored the most runs in the first game, but the games themselves were better as they wore on, which also doesn't make sense because the closest one was in the middle. Anyway, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Let's move on to the next thing. Who we've got this weekend. App State host Troy Trojans, and JMU goes to Norfolk to play in-state rival BU. Thoughts on those ones, guys?
I think the App series is a little interesting because Troy could bury App in the standings.
Yeah.
Or App could turn around and pull within, I think it's a big swing series for each team.
Yeah.
I'd agree.
Troy with a 5-game winning streak at 7-5. I mean, you take 2 or 3 from App, you're right back in it. And then if you take 2 or 3 for App from Troy, then you keep your slim chances, of finishing that top 3 or top 4 alive. But I think Troy needs this series a little bit more than App needs this series. Troy's got a lot more to play for right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, App's got to figure it out this weekend. Seth, you're right. App loses 2 out of 3 or gets swept, and that's the conference championship hopes are pretty much not done. I mean, they could go and sweep every team the rest of the year, but that's going to be a tall mountain to climb. They've got to get a series win here if they want to stay relevant and kind of keep pushing towards being in the top 4.
Yeah. No, I agree. This is where you make it or break it. If you're App State, right, you've got to be on the right side of this one.
Yeah.
2-1's okay. I mean, you're not likely to sweep against Troy. I'm just being honest, right? You're probably not likely to win the series, to be totally honest at this point. But
being real honest now, are we?
But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Kind of coming off our app high now. We're starting to be a little more real with ourselves.
2 out of
got you, right?
App would be fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so this next one, James Madison and ODU. What are we thinking here? ODU's got the bats to do damage. JMU's been pretty good.
But JMU's got a high RPI, so let's go ahead and just crown them now. You want to?
Yeah.
Sorry, Marv. Nothing towards you. I'm just –
No,
makes sense.
No,
it makes sense.
I think this is a big series for both teams. I mean, JMU, high RPI, just came off a sweep. They're sitting in 6 right now. They get a series win here against Old Dominion. Maybe the RPI's telling some truth there. I think it's really big. If they can win that series, I think they're positioned to try to make a run into the top 4.
Yeah. Interesting, man. JMU fans are just living life to the fullest right now, dude. Success in football, March Madness for basketball with a victory.
But you lose your coach after every season, so.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You've lost your basketball coach and your football coach, so keep riding that high as long as you can.
Hey, on the football side, I can sympathize with them because we all know as App State fans how it is when you go on a little run in football, and next thing you know, somebody comes and throws a bunch of money at your coach, and then you're hitting.
Yeah, but you go to Indiana, that's not saying a whole lot. I'm sorry. I just
hey, his bank account looks a heck of a lot better than mine.
Yeah. He's saying CJ saying Sun Belt Conference foster home. Yeah, kind of seems like that for a little while till they get up on their feet and then they take the money and run. Hey, it's happening with the athletes too, so it's all fair in love and war there. But Artie Cat saying Troy needs to make a statement against App and get 2 at least. Yeah, I think so. And then he's saying 2-1 for ODU over James Madison in that series. So we'll have to see. Maybe we'll get Artie to make some picks in our graphic some week too. That'd be fun. All right, so we just talked about App facing Troy. This series I did not break down game by game because it was a 3-game sweep with not the closest of scores until that last game there on Sunday. Troy takes the first one 14-0, wins the second game 12-5, and takes that third game in much more of a nail-biter 9-8. I guess really the question you got to ask here was this was probably the most expected sweep, right? I mean, is that
yeah,
well,
absolutely.
Maybe the Cajuns over the Warhawks was the most expected.
That would be my first one, but this would be if we would have said, hey, here's a series last weekend, what's the most probable? This would have been second.
Okay.
Yeah, agreed. But I think we would have all agreed at least Georgia State would have took 1, we would have thought. But yeah, Troy's streaking. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, they're playing hot. Like we said when we started off the show, they're up there in the current standings. They were up there in the coaches poll to start the year. They seem to be performing right where they were expected to. So good on them for meeting and exceeding maybe some people's expectations, at least up to this point. So let's talk. We really talked. They're already traveling to App State. We've kind of talked about that one. So let's focus on this other one here on this graphic. Arkansas State heads to South Alabama, as we just saw. South Alabama took a game from number 25 Alabama on Tuesday night. Do they keep it rolling by hosting the Red Wolves? What are you guys thinking that one?
Absolutely.
2-1
2 or
South,
3 at least.
Yeah, 2-1 South Alabama. I don't think Arkansas State gets swept twice in a row.
It's a good point.
Wouldn't surprise me, but I'm going to say 2-1 South Alabama.
These are 2 terrible teams, fellas. 4-8 and 3-9.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
look at Arkansas. Look at their overall record: 18-15 and 16-18.
Yep.
I mean, was that non-conference really that bad? You can't tell me the Sun Belt is that good.
I guess the other question you could ask is Sun Belt Conference that tough?
No,
I think so.
I
Personally.
Yeah.
I really do think so. I don't think this conference is given enough credit across the board as they should be. Go look at the Big Ten and compare it. We have more 20-win teams. We have more teams with better outside of the conference record than the Big Ten.
Okay.
And somehow the Big Ten has the Big Ten has
comparing overall records. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, overall records.
All right.
Yeah. So the Big Ten has 14 teams in their league, right? So does the Sun Belt. Well, guess how many participate in baseball? Only 13. So they don't even have everybody fielding the team, and they're still not on par with what the Sun Belt's been doing. Their last national championship was like long time ago. Last national championship for the Sun Belt team was 2016 with Coastal Carolina. You can go add up all the regional teams and stuff. At some point, I want to go put all this research in and really have like a complete library laid out of this stuff. But yeah, I mean, to me, the Sun Belt Conference is historically and traditionally for the last decade or so a better conference in baseball than the Big Ten is.
Hey,
I'm not saying that the Big Ten team that's really, really good can't compete or something like that. I'm not saying like the best team from each conference. I'm just saying as a whole.
But
you're saying if you take the 8th place Sun Belt team against the 8th place Big Ten team and put them in a series, you take the Sun Belt team?
My money's on the Sun Belt team. Yeah.
Hey, real quick, college baseball drinking trivia question. Who is the only Big Ten team that doesn't field a baseball squad?
I already know that answer.
I was asking because I don't know.
Oh, you don't know?
Do not know.
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin doesn't field a baseball team.
Wow.
Nope.
I bet they got a soccer team, though.
Do they? I don't even know that, to be honest with you.
That's wow. I mean, a school with that kind of money doesn't field a baseball team.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Going back to my terrible team comment. I mean, you can argue it as a tough conference, but the reason, I mean, Arkansas State's right where they were predicted to be, South Alabama's underperforming drastically. I mean, you can argue it's a tough conference, but I mean, at some point in the day, you got to say a 3-9 and a 4-8 record is just not good to begin with.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're talking about. That's the conference record, and that's what we're saying is tough, really, more than the outside of conference. But
now,
you're right.
If you were arguing a 6-6 or a 7-5 record, that's a little different.
True.
But
True.
3-9, you can't spin that.
Look at the middle of the pack Sun Belt team. So let's take the top 4 and the bottom 4 out, right? Georgia State, JMU, App State, Old Dominion, Texas State.
Yeah.
None of those teams are bad. So you could lose 2 out of 3 to any one of those teams, and I don't think they just don't seem like bad series losses. I mean, I take those teams up against a lot of teams in other conferences, take the ACC and the SEC out of that equation, and you put them in a lot of conferences across the country and say, hey, play XYZ, place team out of this conference, and you got a series. I mean,
no, I agree. I'm just saying Arkansas State's not a good baseball team. That's all I'm trying to say.
Oh, yeah. Well, after this past weekend, maybe that's correct. All right, before we get into this, let's get into some comments. We got a bunch that came in while we were on that tangent there. So RD Cat saying that the Troy Trojans have a nice little stadium. He said he watched the game there Sunday. Yeah. Just a graphic going around Twitter about schools and the breakdown of money and where it is and where it comes from. Interesting stuff. Troy is heavily subsidized by the state of Alabama in a good way. That's not a knock on them. A lot of other schools are covering a lot of costs with student fees. James Madison, we're looking directly at you with that. One of the highest, if not actually, I think the highest in the nation when it comes to student fees covering athletics.
Is it $53 million a year they're getting off of student fees?
Something around there, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's Dallas Cowboy, if we're talking about Troy.
Yeah. Yo Boy Carr says Cajun's going to sweep Texas State in softball.
Texas. Troy football player, Dallas Cowboys.
Yes. Hall of Famer. Come on.
Oh,
Defensive end.
yeah.
Ware, DeMarcus Ware.
Yeah, there it is.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yep.
We'll keep going.
No, you're good. All right, so he says Cajun's going to sweep Texas State in softball. That's going to be a great matchup. For those that don't know, both of those teams on the softball side of things are nationally ranked. So that's one hell of a matchup for you softball fans to check out for sure. Cajuns will also show them why we haven't lost a conference series since 2013. Yeah, you want to talk about Oklahoma softball? They are the best currently right now, and they have been for a year, 2 or 3 years or whatever it's been. Cajuns ladies have been dominant all as well, silently, because of what Oklahoma does in a bigger stage, unfortunately. But Cajuns ladies softball is nothing to sneeze at. Arkansas State 2-1. He says he thinks they're going to beat South Alabama in that one. And in baseball, they are the Week 10, not the Big 10. So he's agreeing with me on my little tangent there. And he's asking us, this is a good question. I don't know this one. Only Big 12 school without baseball. I'm thinking like Cincinnati, but they actually have a pretty good baseball program. UCF, I know, has one for sure. And those are 2 of the newer Big 12 teams. Is it Colorado?
I don't know. Does he give us the answer?
They're not in the
Artie, you got to tell us the answer now, because I'm not going to look it up.
They're not in the Big 12. Colorado's
now.
not in the Big 12.
They are now. They just moved over.
No, they're not. Still baseball season, bro.
Oh, so they haven't moved yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he says
machine.
Iowa State. Iowa State does not. That's shocking to me. That Iowa State is the team of all those teams that doesn't have a baseball.
Shocking than Wisconsin not having a baseball program.
Yeah. Justin Ness came in here and said Wisconsin. Yeah, that one was one I knew because I had done my research on that, because I was trying to figure out who it was who didn't have a team in that one. Texas State number 22 softball playing UT number 1 tonight. So that's a hell of a matchup right there as well, man. Texas State's women's softball has no easy games here recently. And now CJ's chiming in. How does JMU softball make the regionals? I got to be honest, I am not a softball connoisseur. I'm kind of trying to loop that in with what we already do. It's a lot. I got to focus on the stuff that we know more of, which is the baseball. So I can't give you an honest answer that I know anything the hell I'm talking about when it comes to softball this early on, talking about which teams will make it and not make it. Already saying Iowa State can't afford it. Which is funny, because I'm thinking to myself that like baseball is one of the more affordable sports to field, but maybe it's not. I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of the total cost of a facility, and
I can tell you from
scholarships and all that, I guess.
I think, and somebody on here can correct me if I'm wrong, I think a Division I baseball team has 11.7 scholarships to go around the entire roster.
I think you're right. Something
and
like
then
that.
What's the roster size? Like twice that?
Probably 40, I would think, 30 to 40. I mean, you got to think
that big.
You got to think you probably got 12 pitchers, and then you got 8 guys in the field. I know App's got 2 catchers. You got to have a backup probably for everything. I'm gonna say 25 to 30 kids easy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
He said Artie Cat saying Title IX hurts them. Yo boy Cars thinking JMU softball may sneak in. You know who has the biggest freaking roster size? You ever watch a lacrosse game and see how many guys are on that freaking sideline? Holy cow. It must be field a roster of 60. It's not bigger than football, but it feels pretty damn close. Pretty insane here. So let's talk about Georgia Southern and Georgia State. I think, I don't know. Tim had responded to the event page for this show tonight, so we'll see if he jumps in as we talk about his Eagles here. So game 1, Eagles jump out to a quick 3-0 lead. The remainder of the game still felt like it was in striking distance for the Panthers, but Eagles pitcher Thomas Higgins goes to 4-2 on the year in 6 innings pitched, giving up only 2 earned runs. Game 2 is quite the pitching duel in this one as well, with 4 pitchers on each side combining for 16 strikeouts and only 5 earned runs total. And game 3, probably one of the better games of the entire weekend across the Sun Belt, back and forth up until the 5th inning. Schmidt would take a sacrifice fly to allow Tate to score and go up 9-7, and they would hold off the Panthers after that to help complete the sweep. So, man, Georgia Southern rolling too.
Remember when we did our picks, Dom, and I picked Georgia Southern 2-1, and I think I either called you or texted you. I was like, man, I kind of feel like taking Southern for the sweep here, but I'm not going to do it.
You did, and then that's what I did instead because I was thinking about it already. And then when you're thinking about it, by the way, we're going to show that graphic later. I finally won a week, guys. I won a week over both
good
of
for
you.
you. I mean, listen, just my analysis on this. I wasn't high on Georgia State. I think I said earlier in the year that I watched a couple early season Georgia Southern games, and I was like, man, they got some dudes.
Yeah.
It took a while for them to turn the corner, but I still think that they – Seth, I think you nailed it on the head, man. I think they're battling, for the 4th or 5th spot at the end of the year. They catch fire here. I can't recall what their schedule looks like coming up. I know they come to Boone the last weekend of the year, but I think Georgia Southern is a good baseball team, and I am not surprised by this sweep, to be completely honest.
No, I'm not either. I think after last week, I become a Georgia Southern believer, and I still think they finished in that top 4. And I think I'm not going to say they sneak into a regional just yet, but they're definitely a big surprise so far. I think they're the biggest surprise of the year so far, for sure.
When you said you were becoming a Georgia Southern believer, I thought you were about to say a Georgia Southern fan, and I was going to vomit on myself.
I thought he was going to say the same thing. I did think he was going that way. Oh, man.
How about William and Mary taking down Duke tonight? That's a big upset.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did not hear that.
Just
Are
came
you saying
across.
that this one was the best series of the weekend? Which is funny because it was sweet, but he's right. I mean, if you look at these scores,
Close games.
really close games, in-state rivalry, was a little bit heated in some of those situations. So, yeah, I think there's no doubt that this was one of the better series, even in a sweep, like he's saying. Georgia State was always in the games, and yes, it was pitching duels and all close ones. And then Yo Boy Cars is having a little fun here, saying how you can't get into softball is how I can't get into hockey. I don't know, just something about it, which is funny because I am a huge hockey fan. So we're the exact opposites on that one.
What do you call somebody that can't get into softball or hockey?
A loser. No.
Hey, I did tune into a couple women's basketball games this year, so I'm starting to turn the corner a little bit there.
I think everybody did, man. I mean, It was literally more interesting than the men's, right? Like just the story. It's like it was like wrestling in a sense. Like the storylines were better, right? Like who were you tuning in to specifically see on the men's side?
Dom. Do what now?
I mean, who were you tuning in to see on the men's side, right? Like who was the big draw? Zach Edey for Purdue, maybe.
No, in this part of the country, nobody.
NC State.
NC State, yeah. NC State.
Tournament.
Right, and that only became a thing because of what the run they were on, right? Like you were watching Iowa no matter what. You were watching LSU no matter what. You were watching Connecticut no matter what because they were always destined to kind of be in there. And the men's side didn't really have that. I mean, I guess it did, but in like a boring sense. Like Connecticut and Purdue were kind of expected to be there, and then they were. And like, I'm sorry, the Zach Edey guy, he's a good basketball player, but he's not a good athlete. You know what I mean? Like the guy can't move, doesn't jump very well. But,
you want to get Seth fired up real quick?
Yeah,
because Zach Edey is from Canada, he cannot make $1 off of NIL.
Oh, that's right.
I'm more. How do you say somebody had 40 points in national championships not an athlete? I'm trying to figure that comment out first of all.
Because I'm not saying he's not an athlete. Sorry, he's not like he wins basketball player of the year. It's like watching him and like I don't know if he has staying power at this sport. I don't know. It's just weird to me.
7'4", 300 pounds.
Yeah, hey. Watch him jump. He can't even jump. He doesn't have to. Well, he can't do it. You know what I mean? Like athletically, Xavion Brown from both JMU and App State, didn't matter which one you take. They're both superior athletes to this kid. They're just not as good of basketball players, I guess. And that's fine. It's just a weird thing to me.
Y'all
You want
got
to cover WrestleMania while we're here?
Oh, dude. So my kids who have never really watched wrestling, last weekend we were up there for the Marshall series, Seth. Robert got them into wrestling. We watched all of WrestleMania, and I haven't watched wrestling since I was a kid.
Neither's Dominic.
Still awesome. I know. Hey, hold on. I just want to point this out. So did y'all do a bracket?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Mason on ESPN, 22 million brackets filled out. His final rank was 399. Only 3 people out of 22 million got higher than him.
Wow.
Yeah.
So who did you have as the champ?
UConn.
Let me tell you how bad I was. I picked UConn. I jumped up like 20 spots because of it. I still ended up 13th in my own pool.
I saw the bracket you had. He would have won that. That was an ESPN bracket?
Yeah.
He would have won it by 240 points.
Oh my gosh. Which is crazy because the guy who won ours was a Coastal Carolina fan, if you've seen the post out there, who kind of found us randomly, and he's out on the West Coast now, so it was awesome that somebody that far away participated and won it. Anyway, his, I think 1470, I think was his total. And I saw a lot of other groups posting their champion, and I'm like, our champion beat most of them. And then your son comes along and wipes
1680.
Dang.
Yeah.
Insanity.
Yeah.
And what's great about it is your son's not just like the kid that you're like, hey, buddy, just do this and it's going to be funny and it's going to do well just because you don't know what you're doing. Like your son actually knows the stuff, which is scarier.
Yeah, he had 7 of the 8 Elite 8 teams, all 4 Final Four teams, and the champion.
I think I have in the Final Four.
Yes.
What?
He had State beating Duke.
He had so he had a lot of points right there for that matchup.
We don't watch that much basketball. Like if he did a College World Series bracket for baseball and got it all right, I'd be like, okay, you watch a ton of baseball. Like he's a baseball geek. Like I would understand that. We don't watch a ton of basketball. How in the hell he did that, I don't have a clue. But he has not quit talking about it for the past or since Monday night. I literally hear about it. He's like, hey, you remember that time I killed you in the bracket challenge?
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, let's get back into the baseball thing. Maybe we'll bring WrestleMania up again right at the end. Artie Cat says he loves hockey. He's played since he was 13 until just a few years ago. Skates hurt too much now. R.I.P. Coyotes. Yeah, that's the second comment, guys. The Coyotes seemingly leaving Arizona for Salt Lake City, Utah, which I'm a big proponent for. Having been to the Phoenix area and seen the lack of care for the hockey program there is crazy. But he's asking me if I'm a Whalers fan. I got to be honest. I was never a Whalers fan growing up. I was actually a Kings fan because I came into the scene as a kid as Gretzky was with LA, and I did live in the LA area growing up as a kid for 5 or 6 years. So I got brought on and I was just a Gretzky fan. When he moved to the Blues, I was a Gretzky fan. When he moved to the Rangers, I was a Gretzky fan. So I kind of stayed with whatever team he had. Then the Hurricanes moved down here locally to us just outside Greensboro, guys, in Greensboro. And I lived in little old Hickory, North Carolina at the time. So, slowly but surely over the first 2 years they were in Greensboro, I started to just become a big Hurricanes fan because I got to go to so many games. So I am a Whalers fan by default. You're a Gretzky fan too?
More along the lines of Paulina, but yeah, I'm definitely a Gretzky fan.
Yeah. Hey, I can't hate you on that.
We get no arguments here.
Hey, it's all relative. She's married to Dustin Johnson, Coastal Carolina. We tie it all in together. So.
Masters is happening.
It's all I keep my topics within line. You guys are just way over here.
Hey, we got to cover them all, man. We got to cover everything. Speaking of covering things, let's get back into the series we were talking about. Georgia Southern hosts number 20 Coastal Carolina. That, I don't know, guys. I'm pretty sure it takes the cake for me as the series to watch this weekend. What do you think?
I'm going to say that's going to be one of our picks this weekend for sure.
Definitely.
Can you guess which way I'm going?
You're going 2-1 Southern.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go with you on that. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, hold on, it's in Statesboro.
Yes, in Statesboro. So this week I tried to make sure I put the at symbol if it was at the other place, so that it was. Yeah. So both the Georgia teams host these opponents. That one's going to be interesting in Atlanta area because Southern Miss comes in, and it's like you said, possibly. I think it was you, Marv, who said you don't believe Arkansas State will be swept twice. Do you think Georgia State gets swept twice? Because they could.
And, man, look what that would do to their season if they get swept twice. Like, it just goes to show you two terrible weekends. They were sitting second in the conference going into the last weekend.
Yep.
Yeah, you get swept twice. That's it.
I think Southern Miss needs this worse than Georgia State. Southern
Miss got to keep pace with Louisiana.
You're in Louisiana's taillights right now. I mean, that's all you're seeing. So you got to at least take 2 or 3 to, because a sweep for Louisiana, no matter who they're playing at this point, it's not shocking. So you got to. I think Southern Miss needs this more than anybody.
Well, I'll disagree with the fact that Georgia State. I feel like Georgia State needs it more. But what did we talk about at the beginning of the year, or kind of more recently? Is we need our best teams to continue to keep winning if we want to put the possibility of 4 or 5 teams in regionals.
Yeah.
Having Georgia State be the winner of this series, you could almost say Southern Miss is on the outside looking in immediately after this weekend if that were to happen. That's how crazy and fast things can flip at this point. So we'll have to see. But yeah, I mean, I think you're right though, Seth. Even though I say I disagree with part of the sentiment. I think you're right. They have to win this one in order to keep pace with Louisiana because at some point you're just going to start to be outpaced. It's going to be too tough to catch up in that race. Artie's going with you guys. Southern Miss win or Southern Miss. Georgia Southern wins the series 2-1. Georgia State Stadium will make Southern Miss players so ill they'll lose game 1.
That atmosphere down there is going to have the Eagles shook. They're not going to know what to do. They need to eat and go to Georgia State and see all 47 people in the stands.
Yeah, do we really even need to ask where this game's at? Does it matter?
Well, okay. So here's the aspect of that we laugh at, and it's funny, but it could be true to an extent, right? So Georgia State fans probably more into baseball and thinking better of themselves than they have in their recent past because of the run they started on, right? What did we say, 7-2 to start conference play?
Yep.
Yeah.
Now they've just been decimated as far as the series goes against Georgia Southern. They're playing a team now that they're not expected to win. If the fans don't show up, we've heard this before though. Football players and players of any sport really, they like to perform in front of people. And so if there's not a big fan base there, no matter what's happening, whether they're being chastised or, yelled at or not, like, do you not play as well because there's 20 people in the stands? Or does
I think we're used to it by this point.
Well, but I'm saying for Southern Miss, though, like Southern Miss is used to packed houses and rowdy crowds. Now they're going to go to the exact opposite of that in Georgia State. So
no, I think they're a much better ball team.
This is a program that has a waiting list for season tickets.
Right.
Going to go to a program where they'd be happy to sell season tickets.
Are you saying there's a chance they lose because the home team's crowd sucks? Is that what you're saying?
Maybe they don't.
No chance.
Just saying,
they may lose a game, but it's not because of the fans. I promise you.
I think what everyone's saying is if they come out flat in game 1, I wouldn't be surprised.
That's more. I'm not saying that they'll lose games because of it, but they may not play up to their standard because of it, right? Like they just don't have that
that's like App going to Monroe. I get it. Yeah.
Yes,
absolutely.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yes. That is exactly the thing. I was actually saying that because I think that's the game I was thinking of this year when someone said, why is it tough to go play there? And they're like, it's just not, there's not much of an atmosphere there. So it's hard to get into some, certain big hits, get everybody pumped up. When you don't have that reaction from the crowd, you're like, well, what the hell? I don't know. I guess
play some jock jams or something.
Yeah, there you go. I miss jock jams.
Volume 9.
Artie Cat's asking if this is Little League. It'll feel like Little League in Atlanta. I'll tell you that, right? Why are the fans on wooden bleachers in 5-gallon buckets? Oh, Marv, you're comedy gold, he says.
I'm apparently turning into a Georgia State hater, and I've got no reason to hate them. But you know what? I don't like programs that don't support. I don't like fan bases that don't support their programs. Can't stand it. So there we go.
Yeah, it's fair enough. Fair enough. We all like to be involved when people care more. I can tell you that for a fact, right? All right.
Nothing to see here. Just moving on.
Yeah. Well, I just have some quick notes on this one. So game one, low scoring, obviously. Herman, a big part of that, going almost 6.5 innings and only giving up one earned run in that first game that they take 4-1 there for the Cajuns. Kyle DeBarge has been a standout all season, and no exception here in game two as he hits 2 home runs, helping the Cajuns to a 7-4 victory. They continue to roll along. They win the final game on Sunday by the largest margin with a 9-2 victory over Monroe. Again, not much to talk about there. Expected. Let's just roll right into what's coming up.
The DeBarge was the Sunbelt Offensive Player of the Week.
Not shocked.
Yeah. Dude has a 15-game hit streak right now.
15.
15-game hit streak right now. You have 3 home runs in the series, 6 RBIs. Yeah, that's actually that makes me. I'm going to look up their box score for tonight and see if he got a hit tonight because they're playing as we speak.
Yeah. All right. Well, while you do that, Seth, let's start on the opposite side. Let's go ULM versus Texas State because that one's, to be honest with you, I think I have more interest in what your thoughts might be on that one than I do of the Cajuns versus Marshall.
Why? No.
Why? Here, I'll give you one why. Look what Artie's predicting.
Texas State gets back on track this weekend.
Hey, I'm a big Artie guy, so yeah, let's go for Texas State by 1 million. I think they sweep. No, I mean I have no.
You're going against Artie's prediction because last week he was right. Remember what he did? He picked against his team. He was correct. This weekend he's picking against his team once again. You think he's going to be wrong this time around though?
No, yeah, I do. I think this is a get back place for Texas State. 5-7. Monroe's only 3-9. I mean, a few weeks ago, I was a big believer of Texas State. Took 2 or 3 from App, and then took 2 or 3 from JMU, I believe. I think it's a good time to beat up on some lesser competition. And I mean, you're only sitting at 5-7. There's 2 teams above you at 5-7, and then JMU 6-6, and a couple teams at 7. 3 teams at 7-5. I mean, a big weekend right here for Texas State. I mean, you could pull all the way up to 8-7, and depending on how the weekend shakes out, you could go from about 12th all the way up to 7th or 6th with a big weekend. So yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying now. It looks like Texas State's dead in the water, but a sweep, which would not be shocking, could bring you all the way back up top half of the pack. So let's go Texas State to get back on track this week.
No, that. Hey, quick check in. DeBarge, 2 for 4 with a homer, 16-game hit streak.
Dang, is that one over now too?
It's top of the 9th. Louisiana Tech 7-2.
Oh no.
Yeah. So Cajuns win streak, unless they put the bats together here in the bottom of the 9th, is coming to an end.
I hate that too. I'm not a Law Tech guy for any reason. I've always been on their side as Cajuns fans. Can't stand them. I know Southern Miss doesn't care for Law Tech either because of the formal rivalries from Conference USA days, and they're just not well liked. Okay, the specific reasons are different for different people and different programs, but yeah, down with Law Tech, and I was hoping they wouldn't drop one to them, Yeah. But doesn't look like it's going to go their way. So let's talk about that. They possibly lose this game tonight, or likely lose this game tonight. Now they head into a weekend series with Marshall, who's just coming off of the big victory over Texas State, 2-1. So what do we think happens there? Does it get interesting because of Marshall's talented pitching staff? Sorry.
I could see Marshall taking at least one. If Louisiana had probably one tonight. I don't know how much of a difference it would make, but I think Marshall's, a little sneaky. I don't see Marshall winning the series, but I don't think I'd be surprised with Louisiana sweeping or at least taking 2 or 3, either sweep or 2 or 3 is what I'm saying.
Gotcha. Marv, thoughts on that one?
I agree. Wouldn't be shocked if Marshall took one, but also wouldn't be shocked if Cajun swept.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you guys too. And to note, this one is in Lafayette, not in Huntington. So that's obviously a big advantage to the Cajuns there. Is they definitely, unlike Georgia State, have a very rowdy crowd who's going to let you know things and be right on top of you.
Hey, the Marshall get fed by the Cajun Cooking Club this weekend.
Yeah, enjoy that. That might be the best part of your weekend, but we'll see. Again, I think we were figuring out that you got to very much respect the herd here. Maybe not the greatest program right now, and a school that's still going to struggle a little bit longer in baseball in this conference, but
they might have
maybe picking up some talent.
Pitcher in the conference right now, though.
They might
Jim and still a game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, what do we got next? Coastal Carolina, number 20, going into this weekend, beat ODU 2-1. But look at that score in the middle of this one. Oh, I have notes on these, so let me get into that, and then we'll go into these. So game 1 was a stalemate until the 5th inning when Coastal broke it open with 8 runs. That's pretty much over from there as Riley Eckfold gets 3rd win of the season in 6 innings pitched. Game 2, ODU gets the early jump up 4-0 in the 2nd. Coastal gets within 2 runs twice, but ODU scores consistently enough to outpace the chance in this one. First baseman Alex Bush had a day at the plate, going 3 for 6 with 3 hits and 4 RBIs batted in. Game 3 was all Coastal to finish this one out. ODU uses 6 pitchers who give up 7 hits and 10 runs, and obviously run ruled in that one there as well to end the weekend. So, maybe not a surprising outcome, but what about the score there in the middle? Is that part surprising?
Yes and no. You have a couple pitchers throw bad and the other team's bats get hot, and you lose a game like that. I know Seth sold all his Coastal stock last week on the show and then bought it back with his predictions, but I still think Coastal's a good baseball team. Maybe getting beat by 10 is a little surprising, but I had them winning the series. So, no.
My argument's not, are they a good baseball team? Are they everybody jumping off the cliff over Coastal? That's my argument.
Well, Artie's with you. Look at that comment. Sorry, look at the disparity between Lafayette and Coastal. Chickens are overrated. Yeah.
Got beat last night by Wade too, right? A team that just got swept by UNC. I agree with you, Mark.
Lost to somebody else too, right?
Do what now?
I think UNC just lost to somebody else too, right?
Didn't Coastal beat Wake earlier in the season?
They did. They did beat them earlier on. That was one of those.
What we keep harping on. One win against. I mean, I agree with you. Good baseball team, but you lost. You're mediocre in the aspect of you took. I don't know. You lost to a team that just got swept. You lost a series to a team that just got swept by JMU. At 6-6, whatever it may be. I'm not convinced this is the number 1 baseball team in the conference by any means.
They're not right now. They're definitely not the best team in the conference right now.
Well, and in the poll that we go by, the Cajuns have jumped them. They are 19, and Coastal is number 20. So I think that's correct. I think right now they should be ahead of Coastal. Here, let's break this down. This off for just a minute because I want to make
Why
notice.
Is Coastal ranked at this point? You take away the Wake loss. What did that? Okay, sorry, Campbell. Forgot about Campbell.
Recency bias.
Do what? Recency bias.
Recency bias.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Same reason Notre Dame's ranked top 25 every year before they ever snap a football.
Yeah, it's true.
You're right.
It's true. But let's take note of something. I took that off the screen because I want to read you some of these losses from midweeks just this week, just on the 9th. So Tuesday, listen to this. Number 2, Clemson went down to USC Upstate. Number 7, Duke lost to William and Mary. Didn't you just say they beat somebody else, William and Mary?
That might have been last night. I thought it was tonight.
Okay. Number 8, Kentucky went down to Samford. UC Irvine lost to USC. UNC lost to South Carolina. Oregon, who's ranked number 18 in the country, lost to Sacramento State. And Nebraska, ranked number 23 from the Week 10, lost to Kansas. Kansas is actually somewhat of a decent baseball team, at least this year anyway. And then obviously the one we did already know about, South Alabama over number 25, Alabama. So midweeks matter, guys, and they can make a big swing for teams in the Sun Belt, and that's a good thing that South Alabama was on that list there. But I just wanted to note that because that was a crazy Tuesday night.
Yeah, Clemson losing to South Carolina Upstate. Wow.
Yeah.
And
South Carolina Upstate.
I think we hit on it a few weeks ago. Baseball, I mean, it is a surprise, but are we overly shocked? I mean, especially with midweeks, there's so many baseball games throughout the year. A couple guys being thrown in during the week that don't get a lot of starts, Yeah. It is a little bit of a shocker, but I think consistency is what we've talked about on this show. Consistency is the key. And as you see, with Louisiana, for example, I mean, consistency's 16 in a row. That's the reason you're sitting up top,
Yeah.
Just because that's an awesome win for the Sun Belt, but South Alabama is still sitting at 18-15 overall, 4-8 in the conference. So it's great, but consistency is the key. And that's what wins you championships. And that's the reason Louisiana's on their way to a championship with, 16 in a row before tonight. That's gonna get you up there.
Yeah, and you got to wonder too, with the score the way it is tonight, La Tech maybe where they were at. I think they were previously ranked. If they weren't previously ranked, they were previously a really, really good record. They may be trying to get this one on their record because it's going to look better to beat a ranked team, right? So that may be why they threw their Friday starter tonight in order to get a midweek game against a really tough opponent to help their RPI. All the things down the line, right? Like
one win.
Yeah. It could matter, come postseason time. All right, so we already talked a little bit about this one, I believe. Coastal at Georgia Southern. So we'll move on. I guess we already talked about JMU ODU too as well, didn't we?
No, right. Not too much, but
I think it's a big series for both those teams.
Yeah. It's just like Texas State. Old Dominion sitting at 5-7, and JMU sitting at 6-6. A sweep one way or another pulls each team within just a few games. So, even a 2-1. Yeah, I agree. That's a good series to pick right there. That's a swing series for sure.
Yeah, no, it certainly is. All right. Texas State and Marshall. I do have notes on this one as well, so I'll read those off. I'm going to leave this up as I read through this one so you can see all the scores as I go by too. Game 1, this first game never really broke open, but the herd pitching tandem of Harlow and Wayrich, I think I'm pronouncing that right. They were lights out, 10 strikeouts on the night, while 6 Bobcat pitchers combined for only 3. So not great there. Game 2, again, no real breakout moment to open this one up either, but Havrilla had the bat going for 2 hits and drove in 3 RBIs. Game 3, Bobcats finally had some life. 4-4 in the 7th, but Bobcats pitchers had 9 strikeouts, and offensively, they scored 3 runs in the 9th to avoid being swept. So, yeah, shocker to me anyway. I didn't think Marshall couldn't win 1, but I was surprised to see them win 2, the first 2 especially as well, to take the series. Is anybody else surprised by maybe how fast Marshall took those first 2 games, or I don't know?
Yeah.
Yes, I did. I would have seen it 2-1 the other way, like you said. With their pitcher, their Saturday starter, they can take a series. They can take a game from anybody. But to win dominantly like they did, Texas State scored 1 run after the first 2 games. Like you said, how many runs they scored late in the game in the third to avoid the sweep?
The third one, they scored 3 runs.
I mean, that was
3 runs late. 4-4 game late.
Yeah, that was close. So shocked by that one.
Yep. All right, so let's take a look now about who they've got this upcoming weekend. As we've already talked about, the Marshall Thundering Herd travel to Lafayette to take on the Cajuns down there. Will be a tough task for them to keep that one going, especially if you think the Cajuns are going to be a little upset about losing 1-2 La Tech tonight. Texas State travels to Monroe. And Seth, I think you were the one that said it. The Get Right game, is that what this one is for?
Get Right
Texas
series
State?
for sure.
Get Right series.
I think Texas State needs a sweep right here I think ultimately we talk about the big 4, the top 4 every week. If they're trying to vow for that 4th spot to stay relative, I think a sweep would go a long way for sure.
Yep. All right. So Artie's saying, like I said, Marshall only lost trying to get a full game out of pitcher off rehab. Bobcats bats colder than ice and pitching more pitiful than in Louisiana River, in the words of J.D. Clint. Just pitiful. Sweep up the stadium is about.
Do you know who Jed Climpett is, Dominic?
I don't. I'll be honest. I have no idea.
Marv?
Beverly Hillbillies?
Attaboy.
Oh, nice. Just pitiful. You going to pick up a clip of this guy while we're on here? Just pitiful? I saw you start typing when you were asking me if I knew who that was.
I was making sure it was him, but I can't find. Yeah, that's who it was.
Gotcha. All right, so Marv, I guess that question is: do you agree with that one? You think it's a get right series for the Bobcats? You think they come out on top on this one, or
I do
struggle?
I don't know. I mean, just because it's away, I wouldn't say hey sweep, but 2 out of 3, and I think it kind of gets them back on track if they get the sweep. Maybe a little bit of momentum builder for them going forward, but we'll see.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think I read that Louisiana River, and obviously with who we're talking about, that is supposed to be the L.A. as in Los Angeles River. So, yeah, that makes more sense now. But I'm going to agree with you guys, too. Like, I feel when you drop one like this past weekend, you feel like you shouldn't. Again, we know what Marshall's pitching staff can do now, but beforehand, you're talking a possible sweep for most people, thought-wise, going into that one. So I'm thinking they try and get right and get back in this one. All right, so we'll speed it up for this last one. So Southern Miss. God, there's so many South and Southerns. Southern Miss takes it to the Jags barely, though, and wins the first game 6-5 in 11 innings. I think that was a walk-off one, too, I think. Well, I guess it's not always
a walk. Be a walk, yeah.
Yeah. But I think it was, but I'd have to double check on that. They win the second one a little more comfortably, 5-1, but the Jags take the last game in that series 8-6 to avoid the sweep. Were you guys surprised the Jags took even one here?
I was surprised how close it was to being the other way, 2-1 South Alabama.
Yeah. I'll give them one game. This is what we were probably expected. 8-6 to a team that was kind of predicted to finish in that. I'm sorry. South Alabama was predicted to finish 8th, and right now they're sitting at a lot worse than 8, about 11th or 12th. So, yeah, that's kind of what we expected, I believe.
That was my question before the season. Remember when we talked about that? I think South Alabama, if I remember right, they ended the season last year with like 14 straight losses, and all of a sudden the coaches' poll prediction, like you said, had them up like 7th, 8th place. And I'm like, what did they know that we don't know that has them jumping 4 or 5 teams all of a sudden? No. And at the beginning of the year, it looked like maybe they did know something, and now it's looking like they're coming back down to reality here a little bit. But
you want to go off topic for a minute, Dom?
I'll always look. Artie's trying to do it. He said they moved to Beverly in one episode and tried to put a boat in it, and it went on a battleship by mistake and just wore an admiral's uniform. Classic. Man, I don't know all those details, but
Go back and watch.
Zach Edey was the back-to-back player of the year. Only Ralph Sampson's done that before, so I'm just going to argue your point there for a few minutes.
Yeah.
But just wanted you to know that.
Oh, yeah. No, I actually, the guy who was on the basketball program with me, TJ O'Sullivan, who works for a different publication on the basketball side of things, he actually went to the Final Four and he actually asked that question. So I did know the answer to that, but I had not previously known the answer to that, Ralph Simpson. But he was the last one to do it. So, yeah.
What college did Ralph Sampson go to?
I want to say Indiana.
Ooh, no.
UCLA?
No. ACC?
Clemson?
No.
Damn. All right, I'm done guessing.
Let me double check to make sure I'm right, but Virginia.
Why
Wow.
is the matchup on the left, is that the battle for the bottom?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think so. Well, it'll put someone at the bottom if anybody sweeps for sure, I think.
No, because hold on, ULM's going where this weekend?
Fellas,
Texas State.
I always find a way to tie it in. Ralph Sampson, you want to take a guess where Ralph Sampson's from? Harrisonburg, Virginia.
The pride of Harrisonburg, Virginia.
All right, we can move on now. I'm sorry. I had to go there.
I think you guys lost me there for a second, but I think I'm back on now. You got me?
Yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully it picked up whatever you guys are saying because I missed all that.
You just had some knowledge dropped on you.
I was tying everything Sunbelt related. Ralph Sampson went to Virginia. I was asking if you knew where he was from, and it was Harrisonburg, Virginia. So there you go. It all ties together, fellas.
Very interesting tidbit. I like that. Nice find there, Seth. Nice find.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Artie's saying Southern Miss just can't get it into high gear. Yeah. Yo Boy Car saying Southern Miss fans are awesome. Well, you don't usually see that type of interaction between the two fan bases, but saying sorry, but the real rock is App State, right? Yep. Okay, got it. He didn't finish that sentence. He didn't have to. Knowledge bomb is already Cat saying, yeah, that was a good one, Seth. That's a good find, man. That's a good little trivia question. So yeah.
Learned a lot tonight. Wisconsin doesn't have a baseball program. Iowa State doesn't have a baseball program. Ralph Sampson's from Harrisonburg. I mean,
Dustin Johnson, Pauline.
I knew he went to Coastal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zach Edey's not a good athlete. You know, you heard me say that.
And we not even talked NIL tonight.
No.
We did.
But technically, Marv did.
The fact that Edey couldn't get any.
Yeah. That's crazy, man.
I think monetarily, he'll be just fine here in a couple months.
Yeah, he ain't going to be worried about much. All right, does that wrap it up? Are we into the picks now? Yeah. My favorite part of the show tonight, fellas. My favorite part of the show.
Dom.
Look at it.
Let's go.
Would you look at it? Just look at it, right? I mean, come on. It's beautiful. Yeah, well, the first one was way wrong. But if I would have just switched it accidentally, I would have had that one right, too. Huh?
Dom, just call him UL Moreau. Pulling up the caboose there. You have about as many wins as they do in the conference, don't you?
Ooh, snap.
Ooh, ouch.
Naked burn.
We're all below 500.
Pretty bad.
You know what, though? Both of you only went below 500 because of this week's pick. Before, you guys were both looking pretty good.
Yeah.
Because again, we have the hardest grading on any picks I've seen. Everybody else just picks a series winner. That's it. They don't assign the games. We're going next level
easier, but
yeah. This is why it's more fun that way.
I think taking Coastal, no matter who they play at a 2-1 series, is almost guaranteed. So good job.
Yeah, that's
Mark. I mean, it's almost you and Mark both. I mean, 2-1's pretty good shot there.
Seth, you and I at some point are going to have to just start living dangerously and just pick sweeps all over the board to separate ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, let's do it.
Well, I got to live.
Good ones coming up.
I got to live even more dangerously if I want to have any chance of catching you guys.
Yeah.
You should just go for it.
I'll just wait for you guys' picks to come in and then purposely go way opposite just to try and hit.
Just start calling Chad when we get off here, get his picks and give him and put them in his yours.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Artie says, in the words of Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, the spark plugs are spitting. Then he's saying, you did it, Dominic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, finally got a week on my side.
Dominic's first series win.
Dom just broke out Wonder Bat from the case. I try my best. I really put a lot of thought. The app one, like I said before, that was not necessarily the belief they'd really win by a sweep, but it was like, I got to go with I got to keep it with what's happened so far this year with football, basketball. Come on, you got to stay undefeated. And yikes, didn't happen for us. But anyway. Well, all right, guys, we're going to take that off. Now we're just going to free flow it. Anything else you guys want to talk about? A little WrestleMania action. I got my my Savannah Bananas rival shirt on, the Party Animals, for those who are wondering what the hell I'm wearing. I like to root for the bad guys, just like Razor Ramon.
Did you go to Savannah Bananas game?
I did. They came to right here in Durham at the Durham Bulls Park, and it was a hell of a time. I would highly recommend. And the cool part is, they do like a lottery system, right? Because they don't really want these tickets to hit secondary market. They do, obviously, but they sell the tickets for like $20. It's very affordable.
Right.
If you go secondary market, you're buying them for $200 and craziness. But it's all general admission. It doesn't matter what the ballpark is. You just walk in and you get to pick your seat. It's kind of crazy.
Dom, you hit the lottery when you became buddies with us, man. Come on now.
It's true. I hit the lottery when I got you guys on a show, and we can all just do this for fun.
It's been fun. We have a good time. I have a good time, at least.
I have a blast.
Yeah.
Artie, thank you, buddy. You make it worth it.
Artie's coming. If we don't have Artie on the show by the end of this season, I'm not coming back for season 2.
We'll talk him into it. He might be wanting to be into it. To his credit, he's never come over and begged. Haven't really had anybody beg, to be honest, but I've had other people ask. He's never asked, but we're gonna give him an invite. Another fantastic show, greatest of all time, was Mankind. His Undertaker match is also the greatest. Saw JBL at WrestleMania.
It was the Undertaker coming out at WrestleMania was fantastic.
That like helped seal the deal for me too. Like, everyone talked about Stone Cold coming in, leading up, and you thought that was going to go. Undertaker just fits so much better anyways.
But I think it needs to be done at this point. Like,
yeah.
Leave it. After Sunday, leave it. Be done.
Yeah. Unless you can have a Miller moment like that. But that was perfect, right? It caught everyone off guard. It was quick. Look, these guys are older and they can't move well. Like, the last time Taker was in a match, it was like, dude, this is bad. Like, he doesn't have it anymore. It's just worn. And same thing with Austin. He's got 2 knee braces. He can barely walk, let alone run or move around the ring real well. Just let him get out there, hit somebody with a chair and chug a beer. That's what his spot is now, right? Like, Undertaker come out, chokeslam, perfect. Now eliminate him from the viewing pleasure. Because he's always been that dark, ominous guy, right? Come in, do your thing, get out. Like, it fit perfectly.
I agree.
Cena's a little different. He can still move pretty well. Rock, same kind of way, although I think his size is still hindering him moving like he used to for all the roids. I mean, natural supplements, guys. Okay? What was it that Hogan always said? Take your vitamins and eat your
prayers. Yeah.
Say your prayers. That's it. That's how you get big and strong. And stay that way.
That guy.
Yeah.
Well, boys.
Oh, man.
It was fun.
Yeah. It was fun, fellas. We'll be doing it again. One more comment from Artie before we go. Foley, I've got to. What is he trying to say there? I've got to get raised. I don't know.
I'll take
something about Briscoe Brothers.
I'll take 2 Artie's drinking, please.
Yeah. Oh, I've got to get his car back to the Briscoe Brothers body shop. Briscoes were 50s and 60s. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I know that I'm familiar with the name, but yeah, I'm not familiar with that
Pat
too much.
Briscoe? Yeah.
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 Me and Seth got to go to a old school WCW pay-per-view event in Greensboro not too long ago. Well, it's a couple years now.
Met the Usos at Hooters.
One of them.
Oh, just one of them?
Yeah.
Oh.
Remember what he told us he did when we were sitting there?
Landscaping?
Yeah. He
Yeah.
was trying to hide. He was trying to hide from us, Marv, with a hoodie on his head, and it was like so obvious and out of place that this wrestler's in here with all these rednecks from Greensboro, North Carolina area.
But now when we're in public, we have to hide from people. How the tables have turned.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I get recognized all the time. You do that podcast, you know? It's like, not right now. I'm with my family, you know?
Hey, are you that Joe Rogan guy, the guy on the podcast?
Oh, man. All right. Well,
fellas.
we're so humble here. All right. We're going to wrap it up. Thanks for tuning in. Sunbelt Syndicate, SB Syndicate at checkout for W Energy, and we'll see you guys all next week.
Sunbelt Syndicate.